Your turn. Pick another one.
All right. We talked about UMV being on Madonna's label. I'm gonna talk about another group. They run on Madonna's label, but they run another pop icons label. Michael Jackson had signed Brownstone, and they were from Brownstone. Man, not only was it R&B, man, but they kind of crossed over in the gospel a lot. You know, they took it to church. If you
Oh
love,
my gosh.
yeah, if you love me, man, specifically that one right there
Yes.
is that. Yeah, my mom loved that song. She still does to this very day. Grapevine.
Grapevine. Yes.
Another one, man. Those. I mean, they were just. And
That's
I think,
Eddie F. I think, right? Eddie F. did
yeah,
that one.
yeah, yeah.
Such a good record.
Even their second album had a couple good hits. I liked 5 Miles to Empty. That was really
Mhm.
oriented. Um, they yeah, Brownstone.
They could sing their faces off.
Yeah,
Oh my
especially the
God.
yeah.
I don't know their. I kind of had the same trouble that you had with the other group. I don't know. I don't know their names.
One of them was on R&B Divas. I can't remember her name either, but she kind of had she wasn't a very likable personality, unfortunately.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, but she had a very powerful voice. I remember seeing her on the episode of Martin, where Martin was trying to sign her, and then they got to the record executive's office, and she lost her voice, and
Mm,
remember that episode of Martin or not, but
I don't remember that one.
yeah,
No.
the lead singer appeared on there, and I think they broke because of issues within the group, which I'm sure started with her probably, from what I've read about them. But yeah, I was a big fan of Brownstone. They were, I mean, soul. I mean, there was In Vogue, SWV, but Brownstone, man, those ladies right there really held it down. Every single song, man,
Grapevine is classic forever.
yeah, they just
It's
took it
just
to
forever a
church.
classic.
Yeah, I mean, their songs are put together like gospel songs.
They were, but I mean that one was put to. That's like Grapevine to me is like the quintessential breakup song.
Yeah,
Like it's so well written. It's sung with all the attitude you
yeah,
could ask for.
yeah.
It's just, but the woman is strong. She's not a weak pepper. Like she's
Exactly,
strong.
exactly.
It's like I heard through the grapevine, and it's your problem, not mine. That kind of
Yeah,
thing. Like
yeah,
I hope that you feel much better. Yes, I do. Like it's a very well written song and so well
yeah,
produced, and it's a classic. It's just a classic R&B breakup tune.
yeah, yeah. And they had a third album, but it didn't really do too well. Didn't chart any singles or anything like that. I mean, by that time it was what 2000. R&B had went a completely different direction.
Yeah.
So obviously they weren't going to last very long. But they were too gospel for R&B at that point. You know, but like I said, great voices. Um, yeah, can't say enough about them.
Do you remember? Speaking of them, do you remember the group Pure Soul?
Yeah, yeah,
We Must Be in Love.
yeah. They were around that same time too. Mid '90s.
That song is fire. It's absolute fire.
Yeah,
That was another one. Like the first time I heard it, I was in the car and I went, "Oh, what is this?" And I literally had to pulled me over because it's just the voices were just so good and the track is the groove. It's a drum machine groove, but it's so
yeah,
good. And it was another one of those. I was next to Waxy Maxie's at this point, and I had to go over there and get the single. Like I needed it right away. It's such a good song. But they were a lot like Brownstone in the sense that they
really.
were very gospel too in that way.
Okay.
And it's like they had that one song and then they had I Want You Back,
Yeah.
which
Okay. Yeah.
was kind of your typical R&B thing, and then nothing, then
Yeah.
crickets.
Yeah.
So but they were a lot like Brownstone in that way. Kind of they more came from gospel than anything
Yeah.
else. So but they were really, really good too for about 10 seconds.
But I mean, that was just R&B in general. I mean, R&B was so deep, and early '90s, mid '90s, that there was a lot
Yeah.
of groups that never saw the light of day.
It was like if you're like I was thinking about this the other day. Like if I
Mhm.
own a record label or if I'm an A&R guy at a record label at this
Yeah.
point in life, who do I pick? Like how do you stay on top of all of it? There was so much talent,
Yeah.
so many great songs, so many great groups that could have done better. People
And any other era.
they had to slip through the cracks. It had to happen. There was just too much.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them too. I ran across a website a couple years ago. They have like a R&B male pyramid from the 90s, and they have like the top R&B groups, the most popular ones, and they trickle the way all the way down to the groups that were lesser known or that didn't chart any singles. And I'm just like, there had to have been at least 75, 80 groups on that list. And then they did one for the women, and it's the same thing. You have your top groups and the ones that charted a lot and the ones that did okay. And you have your one hit wonders, and you have your other groups that you just probably never heard of. And it's just like, and now in 2020, I can't find a single. I've looked it up. I've tried to search. Hey, is there any R&B groups that have come out within the last 10 years? Can't find. Besides mindless behavior, can't find a single group.
Well, I don't know that that counts, but
Yeah,
okay.
that's the closest that we're gonna get to. Which
They're
is
not terrible, but they're more like gang sing along more than they are.
yeah, they're like a
Harmony.
pretty much like a boy band. Pretty much, they were all young.
Yeah,
I think.
and there's nothing wrong with those either. It's just they
Yeah,
do like gang sing along,
yeah,
unison singing rather than harmony singing. It's
yeah,
just they're just a different thing. It's apples and doorknobs.
yeah. It's a good one.
So it's just another thing. That's all. It's not bad. It's not horrible. It's just different. That's all.
Yeah.
So okay. So you brought up one of the ones I was going to bring up. So I gotta let Brownstone
Oh, they were
go.
Brownstone was in their list.
Oh, absolutely. I have a feeling there are going to be some duplicates here because we kind of like the same thing. Let's see. I'm going to go completely esoteric on you and see if you know this one. Do you remember the group, for example?
Didn't they have a
I'm gonna get him. Watch, I'm gonna get him.
I remember them because I have a couple songs on my iPod, but I can't think of any singles from them right off the bat though.
Oh
For example, was did they have a song on the soundtrack, South Central?
no, not that I know of.
Okay,
It's the Roman numeral 4 and then
yeah, I remember that.
examples.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah, yes, I do. But I can't think of I can't think of a single from them right off the bat, off the top of my head though.
I got him. This is delicious. I stumped it. 19,000 songs in your little phone thing, and you can't get it. I love it.
I know the name because I actually have downloaded some stuff from them, but I just can't think of anything like
Oh.
right off the top of my head. Yeah.
No, I'm sure you do. But no, I remember I was at home in my bedroom and I was listening to PGC because that's just what we did back then. And this song started to play, and it wasn't a great copy of it. PGC hadn't gotten a finished copy of it. It was rough, I remember, which wasn't unusual because they would get music from anywhere back then.
Yeah.
But they were playing the song, and it was called "I'd Rather Be Alone." Just isn't fair.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Although I love you, girl, I'd rather be alone. That one. And I heard that chorus because it opens the tune. I'm like, oh. And I stopped what I was doing and sat on the bed and I just started listening to it. And that was another one. It was just like, what is this tune? And then they played like 4 others after it. So I had to wait to find out what it was. And then they told us what it was in the stack. And I went, oh, it's because I knew what the other ones were.
Yeah.
And for example, okay, how am I going to
Don't wait a minute. They have a song called "From the Fool."
Yes. See, he does know stuff. Yes, that was the second single. And frankly, the better song.
Yeah.
As good as "I'd Rather Be Alone" is, like "From the Fool" is just that much better. It's because it's so creative. But like I heard that tune and I went over to Waxy Maxie's because it was the closest thing to me at that point, and they didn't even know what it was. And I went, oh, dang it. You remember that used to happen sometimes back before digital kids. That used to happen. Like you would hear something on the radio and you'd go try to get it and they wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
And they might not even know what it was. So I took my happy butt over to Tower, which was like another half an hour away, but I was pressed.
Yeah.
This is music. This is life itself. You don't understand. And I went to Tower. I went to the big one over in DC, over on H, which of course is now CVS, but whatever. I went in there and they didn't know what it was either. And I went, oh, how am I supposed to find this? So I went home and just like kept the radio on for the next time I would hear the song.
Yeah.
And I kept a blank tape in there just so if I heard it, I could like keep it for myself.
I used to do that. I did that a lot in high school. I did that.
Yeah.
And that was so bootleg, but you did what you had to do.
Dude, the struggle was real back then. Like you had
this is before I had my own computer where I can just get on, Napster or whatever it was whatever was hot in high school.
But there was nothing at that point. That was before there was internet.
Well, when the Napster, yeah, that's right. But for example, was around with 94, 95?
I think it was 92.
Okay.
Was
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna be
Yeah.
lazy and look
I
this up
wasn't doing
because
the
I
whole,
can look it up.
I wasn't doing the whole cassette thing until like 97, 98. But yeah,
Because I think
I,
it was.
I did that a lot though.
Oh yeah, we all did. I still have a couple of cassettes full of things that I was listening to back then that I just
And
couldn't.
it kind of sucked too because the audio wouldn't be very good, and you'd get like snippets of the other song that just came off, and
That was terrible. Yeah, because the radio compression and you wouldn't get the end of the song because they cut it off with another one.
I hate that to this very day. Can't stand it.
And play the
Can't
song.
stand
I
it.
want to hear the fade out too. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, I understood why they didn't do it. Time is money.
Yeah.
And then they would play edits of things, and you could tell they were edits. But like
Yeah.
with this group, like the record wasn't ready yet, so it wasn't out, and there was no single yet. So I literally just had to wait. So this was 92, by the way. I'm looking at it
Okay.
now. This was 92. And there was another 4-man group, and I had to wait. I think I waited like a month, and then the cassette single showed up, and I would go every once, like maybe once a week, and ask, like, do we know what it is yet? Oh, it's on the release schedule. Cool, let me see. And they had a book, and they'd turn the book around to me because I was pressed. And then I could see that it was coming out like a month. This was the kind of fun we had back then, though. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So we couldn't get it right away, but there was fun in the chase, you
Yeah.
know? And this was kind of that for me. So like I would leave and just wait and then go back and check again, and because sometimes things would come out early.
Yeah.
And then
You remember Blockbuster Music?
barely, just barely. I
I used
never
to get stuff.
indulged.
I used to get stuff from there all the time.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
I mean,
all I was Tower mostly,
mhm,
Waxy Maxis. There was a Sam Goody that was fairly nearby, and
mhm.
I knew everybody at all these places. They knew me when I'd come in because I was
Yeah.
pressed. But I'm sure it was the same way with you too. But
Yeah.
I waited for like a month, and then finally the single dropped, and it was a cassette single. Ugh,
Okay.
I hated cassette singles, but whatever. I had to have that song, and it was one of those things where you get the cassette single that would have like the song on the A side that you wanted, and then on the B side it had snippets
Yeah. Or like
because
different
they
versions that very different variations of that particular song. Or
yeah, it sometimes it could have that, but this had snippets on it, so you could kind of hear what was coming on the rest of the album. And I
okay.
thought I would just be satisfied with that song because it was so fire. I thought there's no way you can chase this.
Yeah.
And then on the back, of course, it was a problem for me now because now there's other things I have to hear. She's always on my mind. From the
Yeah.
Fools on it. I forget what else. It's just been too many years. I don't have the single anymore, of course. But that meant that I had to wait for like another month and a half to get the album.
Yeah.
And then finally that showed up, and I bought that right away. And just the record it's pretty good, but it's not great. But those two
Yeah.
songs justify its existence.
Yeah.
But then after that record, again, it was another case where there were just so many, and they were on MCA,
Okay.
which was home to like all R&B groups.
Yeah, that's yeah, because they had a lot of groups, man, but a lot of them didn't really last very long.
Yeah, they did. And it was I'm looking too, I'm cheating, but they achieved, let's see. They released a single called The Swang. I remember The Swang. I remember
Okay.
when that came out. It was popular in LA where you were
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And then they did yeah, you recognized it right away, didn't you? And then they released I'd Rather Be Alone, which was the first one I'd heard. And that actually charted on pop radio.
Really.
It charted number 40. It didn't do great. It got to number 44 on
But
pop.
that's just to even make it to rate, just to even make it on the chart is pretty good in itself for a group that was really not really known.
And check this out. It gets weirder, right? From the Fool, which we both love, From the
Hmm.
Fool only got to number 95 on the R&B charts.
That doesn't surprise me.
It
Like
surprises me.
like I said, R and B was a whole different beast. 20,
But
20.
that song, bro,
Yeah. Yeah.
come on. Like it had a middle eight.
Yeah.
How many R&B songs you know with a middle eight in them back then?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't just like we're gonna write like a middle eight. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't just like a cheap middle eight either. Like it was a different section of the song, like musically correct.
Yeah.
And the lyric was great. Like Dre Allen, not you, but Dre sang the full. It wasn't Dre, I promise. but like and it was kind of like a round robin thing where they all sang, but they sang the fool out of it. It's such a good song, and they could
Yeah,
all sing. And like I'm looking at this now, I'm like 95. Like what? How? What? It's
yeah,
so good, but I guess it's just a vestige of the fact that there were so many
yeah.
R&B groups, especially signed to MCA at that point. I
Hmm.
guess they just didn't get behind it enough. I don't know,
Yeah.
but I loved it. I even
I
remember the
mean,
video.
the talent pool was just so deep, man. Like it was a very, very, very competitive field. I mean, everybody was doing just strictly R&B at that point. It's not like it is today where R&B groups where R&B acts in general stand out more. This is back then where there was just there's a littered with them, you know?
Yeah, there really were so many of them at this point. I guess they just didn't stand a chance. But I mean, like in the dictionary under missed opportunity, it says C,
Yeah,
for example, because they
yeah.
were great. They were so good. So, okay, your turn. Pick another.
All right, I got to. Well, I guess they qualify for a group. There's only two of them. Shawnee, not Sade, Shawnee,
Jeanne.
Mr. DJ,
Yeah.
Groove Thing,
Yeah.
Vibe, um,
Yeah.
Sending My
Um,
Love.
what was the other one?
They
They did it. They did a cover of "Good Times" by Chic too.
did they? I don't recall
It's
that.
so, bro. It's so fire. It's so good. It was on the NBA is 50 CD.
Okay,
It's so good. You need it in your life. It's so
yeah,
good.
but I always loved their voices.
Same.
I don't know, their voices are so. You know who they remind me of, or who reminded me of them? Taking it, going forward a little bit. Flowetry. I remember when they first dropped it, 2002, 2003.
Say yes though.
It seemed like they were kind of emulating what I'm not sure if they were or not, but that's kind of what they reminded me of.
Think so? Really?
Yeah, a little bit. That's what they. I mean, that's kind of when I first heard them. When I heard some of their slower stuff, I was like, that reminds me of Shawnee, Groove Thing.
Because to me, Flowetry was so gutta. Like,
Well, they were trying to be more neo soul, but
because they were Dre and Vidal mostly.
yeah, yeah,
And so they were like Say Yes is just pure pure neo soul. The
yeah,
Floetic itself, like the whole record, but they did the original version of Butterflies that Michael Jackson did a
yeah.
far
They did.
inferior version of.
Yeah,
Um, they just Marsha Ambrosius is just so much better than he is at that tune.
yeah,
But yeah, they were just neo soul to the bone, really.
yeah. And so and Shawnee, it seemed like they were kind of like foreshadowing neo soul a little bit. Some of their stuff, but hey, Mr. DJ, man, it's a '90s anthem. You can't put.
Groove Thing, which is the same song Sideways.
And you know what? I actually like Groove Thing more than Hey, Mr. DJ. Um,
It's slightly different, but it's think of it like it's basically the same tune Sideways.
yeah, it is. It is. But it was just different enough, though. I thought,
Yeah. Well, a lot of groups did that though. Like if you
yeah.
go back through musical history, like a group would have a hit, like the Righteous Brothers, for instance. Their
Oh,
first
yeah,
one was You Lost That Love and Feeling, and then they did You're My Soul and Inspiration, which is the exact same song Sideways. It's the exact same song with some of the same changes in the same key.
yeah. Even the Isley Brothers started doing that in the early '80s. They had,
Oh my gosh, yes.
in between the sheets, and they had different. It seemed like they had different variations of the exact song. On
Yeah,
that,
they did.
yeah. But
If
yeah,
it worked, if the trick
which
is,
is
record executives say this all the time. If they bought it once, they'll buy it twice.
yeah, yeah.
So there you go. But those two songs are dead up mostly the same thing.
Yeah, but yeah, I always liked Vibe too. That had like that one had a completely different sound than the other two, but it didn't really chart as well or anything like that. But I remember hearing it. It got some radio play, but by then their album was kind of coming off of the whole charts and everything like that. But then they did a remake of, well, kind of like a remake of Evelyn King's Shame. Um,
Yeah, I remember that.
and that was in the movie Low Down Dirty Shame of Keenan Ivory Wayans and
Mhm.
Jada Pinkett and Sally Mae Richardson. Decent enough of a movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember that particular song though, and that stuck out to me. And yeah, I've always been a fan of their sound, their voices, their lyrics. Um, yeah, they were pretty unique. I thought at the time they sounded different than what anybody else was doing at that particular time. So I definitely got to tip my hat to them for that, because that's really hard to do in the '90s. Where
Oh, I agree. I would love to have heard them. I always felt like they were holding back a bit,
yeah,
that they were more kind of, because a lot of producers back then were kind of trying to create a mood more so than a song.
yeah,
And I would love to have heard them and I think they could have done more vocally. I would love to have heard
Yeah.
them both cut loose, and I'm not sure they ever really did.
Yeah, yeah. They like I said, you can tell they could sing, but they never
Yeah.
pulled their pipes. You know what I mean? Um, I always thought what was interesting about them was their album cover. They shaved their heads.
Yeah.
We weren't seeing that a lot in the '90s.
It's like they went out of their ways to like not be bombshells, to put the
Yeah,
focus on the music where it went kind of like the black version of Sinead O'Connor,
yeah, yeah, exactly. Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And I remember they did a follow-up album. It didn't do nearly as good. They had a song there called "Request Line" with Busta Rhymes.
I
That,
remember that.
that was decent.
It was. I
And
liked
after
it.
that, I don't know what happened. They just disappeared. I don't think they put out another record after that, and it's a shame because I thought they were really talented. But then again, like I said, between '93 and '97, a lot changes in R&B.
Yeah,
By the late '90s, man, R&B was completely in bed with hip hop. So
you weren't gonna come out of that time period in most cases with a long career. It
yeah,
was too transitional.
yeah, yeah, you're right.
So, and the producers that were, because they weren't, I mean, these groups weren't producing themselves. They were all, I think everyone that we've mentioned so far has been reliant on an outside producer for their sound.
I got one group that wasn't. Well, yeah.
Okay, go.
No,
Yeah,
Tony.
true. But they did use outside producers on a couple of things.
Yeah, they did, but I mean,
Aha.
Raphael Sadiq though. Raphael Sadiq was that dude, and in my opinion, probably the most underrated artist of the last 30, 35 years or so.
That's on my list anyway, by the way. So please
But
continue.
Tony,
Of
okay,
course it
yeah,
is.
Tony, man. I was just listening to Whatever You Want today, coming.
Yes.
Yeah, love that song, and it's interesting too because Sadiq does not sing lead on that.
No, that's Dwayne.
Yeah, so growing up as a kid, I had no idea that was Tony until years later. And you know what's so funny about Tony? I have to give him a lot of credit because I remember hearing "Feels Good" a lot on the radio when I was about 5 or 6. That song was constantly in rotation. And
Mm,
I remember hearing it again, um, probably when I was 14, 15 years old. This is 98, 99. This is almost a decade after that song came out. And that reignited my interest in old school R&B. That particular song opened the gate to
mm.
else that I went back and discovered as far as R&B goes. That song, I don't know what it was, but that song right there just unlocked something in me. I don't know if it was nostalgia that just hit me. Like I was like, man, I remember that. I was like 5 or 6. Obviously, being 15, 6 and 15 isn't that far apart, but when you're 6 years old, it seems forever when you're 15. You know what I mean?
It does, yeah.
I remember hearing that and I'm just like, wow. I was like, I wonder what happened to them. And then come to realize that they did the song with DJ Quick. Yeah, I don't know, I'm drawing a blank right now. Let's Get Down. And yeah, and that
Oh,
was
but they did it. It existed without him first, and then they put him on it.
yeah, yeah. And then I also remember Sadiq, he was also doing, producing stuff. Yeah, he did the whole thing with I think it was Don Robinson from In Vogue, Lucy Pearl. They formed a group.
Yeah, Lucy Pearl. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't mess with
and,
my man. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so
Mm.
Tony, I got to give them a lot of credit because that song Feels Good unlocked a lot of stuff for me. No, because when you're 15, 16, you're not really thinking about anything that happened, back then,
Oh,
but
sure.
that right there reignited my interest in like old school R&B.
Well, because they were a band.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
were very few of them at that point. Because there was, let me think here. At that point, there was. One of them I'm not going to mention because it's on my list,
Well, I
but
think we
I'm
both
sure
know.
you can
Yeah,
imagine which one it was. But then there was the only other one was Joe Public.
Joe Public, Live and Learn.
Yes, I did it, and I will do it again.
I didn't. You know what? I didn't know they used a band.
Yeah, that was a band. They were a band.
You got to live and learn.
Yeah, brothers and
Oh
sisters. Yeah,
man,
they were a band.
that's good stuff right there, man.
It is. I mean, the lyric is terrible,
I mean, they're
but
corny. It's just kind of corny, but
it's awful. But the groove is just come on, it is. But
yeah,
the lyric, it's like what they're trying to do and what they accomplish have nothing to do with each other. They were
yeah,
trying to be deep and cautionary, and all it did was make me laugh.
yeah,
But the groove is crazy. Like the band can play.
yeah. I didn't know that was. I had no idea that was a band.
Yeah, it was a band. Yeah, they they debuted, remember, on "Keep It Coming" by Keith Sweat.
That's right. That was
Keep it
that was Keith Sweat's
coming.
third album, I think.
Yeah, it was his third
Yeah.
record. And I heard that song, and that was another one. I had to stop the car and turn around and get the record. I literally did that with that one too,
You,
just
yeah.
because of that song. And that song was just Joe. It was just Joe Public with Keith Sweat singing on it.
I see. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know he discovered them. Or did he discover them? Or
Yeah, he put them on. He was the first one to put them on, and that got him a record deal with
he put on a lot of
Columbia.
groups, man. Keith Sweat, low key put on a lot of.
Silk,
Yeah, Silk. There was another group called Old
Cut
School.
Close.
Yeah, Surrender, and yeah, yeah. Keith Sweat, yeah. That's a whole different topic for another day. Keith Sweat, man. He's
You could
been.
almost do a podcast on Keith Sweat.
Yeah, couldn't sing worth a damn, man, but he can emote pretty well.
We used to call him the whiner.
Yeah, he had a distinctive voice, man, but he made some bangers, man, some classics.
I'll give all my love to you.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Even the recent song he did, Boomerang.
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, go back. It came out a couple years ago.
You stumped me. Congratulations.
Yeah, but Live, yeah. Didn't Joe Public do another song called I think I Miss You or
Yes, yeah, that was in the middle of the record. Yeah, I bought the album because I was pressed, and I was
Joe
very
Public.
disappointed, but because there was just nothing else.
Yeah.
And then I even bought the second one because I'm a glutton for punishment, and there's nothing on it. It's just sorry. There's Easy Come Easy Go, which is the name of the second record, and it just doesn't have anything. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
So they had two good ideas, and they blew them, and then there was just nothing left.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, other than Joe Public and this other band, which I'm not going to talk about just yet,
Okay.
there were really only three of them, and Tony was absolutely one of them. And remember, they put out that first record called Who, and they had with Little Walter on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was great. And I mean, the rest of the record is pretty good too, but it was like they were still trying to figure out who they were.
Yeah.
And by the time they hit the revival, they knew exactly who they were, and just banger after banger. Like it had Feels Good, which I loved. Of course, that was the first thing. Then it had the blues on it.
Yeah.
Which I loved.
It had Oakland Stroke with Vanessa Williams.
Oakland Stroke with Vanessa Williams. Vanessa Williams is the one who put them on in the first place.
Really?
And yeah. And she put on.
Brian
that's
McKnight, right. She's from Oakland too. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it had Whatever You Want. It had It Never Rains in Southern California, which is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Remember this?
Because it had jazz chords in it.
Yeah, but remember this one, Just Me and You. It was on the Boys in the Hood soundtrack.
Yep, I have it. It's up there. It's on the shelf.
Weren't they playing the harp in that, or there was something they were playing? There was some instrument. They were playing something. They had like a little breakdown in the middle of the song. You know, when they're trying to get really seductive and everything.
I haven't heard it in such a long time.
Yeah, I think they're playing. Yeah.
But I remember that. So that song is basically just Raphael for real.
Yeah, well, a lot of them kind of were, you know.
True.
And there's another song. It took me forever to find it. For whatever reason, YouTube had it blocked for the longest time. But for whatever reason, I got lucky and I tried it and it downloaded for whatever reason. I don't know how. There's this song in the Mask soundtrack, you know, Jim Carrey movie, The Mask, called "Bounce Around."
Yeah, anybody in the town want to bounce?
Oh man, that might be my favorite Tony song
with the Moog bass on it. Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody knows about that song, but that might be my favorite song from them.
It's such a great song. I bought that soundtrack specifically because I knew that song was there.
Yeah.
Because I'd been looking for it too, but I was looking for it back then. Where is it? And then I waited for the next record to come out, which was Sons of Soul. I figured it would be there. It's like, no, it's not there. Where is it? Yeah. And then I saw The Mask and I went, there it is.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that soundtrack too? A lot of it was R&B. Like I think Escape.
A lot of it. Escape was on it.
Yeah.
What else?
That might have been Jim Carrey's doing. I think Jim Carrey was always a big fan. I think.
Yeah. Jim Carrey himself was on it with Cuban Pete. With the remix and the original version. It's a bizarre soundtrack. Hey Pachuco. There was a bunch of I forget now, but it's been Harry Connick Jr. was on it.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, it had some jams on it, but for sure. And that Escape song was great.
Yeah, man. I'm so bounce around, man. I'm impressed that you know that one because I thought that was just one of those things.
Love that song. Yeah, that's one of their better songs. But for me,
that song is so Cali too, man.
It is complete with the Moog in it.
Yeah,
like that Moog bass was just the beat, and I think the beat is a machine, but so what?
Yes.
Like it's complete until it's very 70s.
I kind of wish they never released that. That wasn't released as a single, was it?
It wasn't, and it would have killed.
I think so too, because it kind of that would have been a perfect party anthem for the '90s. I think.
Yes.
I don't know why they didn't put that out. I don't know if it was up to them or the record label or what, but that should have definitely been a single. That
I
had
don't know.
for it.
I remember the soundtrack was on Chaos, which was a Columbia imprint,
Okay.
and they were on Mercury. They were on Wing at the time. So
Yeah.
completely different record labels. I don't know. I don't know why they didn't release it. They should have, because it just the first time I heard it, it just screamed hit to me like,
Yeah.
hello. Like, they missed it. Somehow they missed it. But like the
Yeah.
big thing for me was It Never Rains in Southern California. That was actually I think I told you this already, but that was the first song I heard in the car after I got my driver's license, when I was driving by myself for the first time.
Really.
That was the first thing that I heard. And I had the
Okay.
CD at that point with the ghetto cassette adapter. You remember the one? You could listen to your little Discman in the car.
Yeah, you had to plug it into the inside of the. Oh man. Yeah.
Yeah, the cigarette lighter for power.
I did that in high school.
Same. But this was what was it? I was 17 at the time, and it was that song always feels like freedom to me.
Yeah.
And it's just, and two, like the bridge is just, those are jazz changes. They're not R&B changes at all.
Yeah. That's Quiet Storm, man, to the T.
Yeah, it's just such a great song, and Raphael sings his face off on it.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any harmonies in it either. It's all unison singing or octave singing.
Yeah.
But it's perfect. It's just the perfect R&B ballad. The lyric is pretty good.
Yeah.
Good tune. So, and then of course after that they did, well, I won't take it from you. Continue, because you probably won't.
Oh, you talking about the anniversary and Lay Your Head on My Pillow? Talking about that?
Sons of Soul. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Lay Your Head on My Pillow. That's another one I've always liked a lot.
Yeah.
It almost feels.
It was a little salacious, but
You know what? When I was a kid,
sang it so sweetly you couldn't care.
but it almost sounded like a country song. There were certain parts of it that just kind of had like a.
Yeah, because it has a pedal steel in it, I believe.
Yeah, and that was always kind of weird to me. But I always loved the lyrics. I love the ending of the song. It's the last minute and a half.
Yeah, the groove where they're just vamping forever.
Yeah, love that. Love that. And there was another song they had in there called Slow Wine. I thought was very underrated.
What's that?
Slow Wine. They had another song called Slow Wine.
Yeah, and no, it's not the drink.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
He says that in the intro. Yeah.
And I don't think Sadiq he wasn't lead on that one either. I don't think.
That was Dwayne. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slow wine. Yeah, I remember that song. Yeah.
I don't know why, but they should do another. I don't know why they haven't reunited yet, because I've seen so many R&B groups in the last 10 years kind of reunite and kind of put something out. It gets played on the Quiet Storm stations. But Tony has yet to do that. Like I've seen SWV reunite. I've seen
and be good.
Yeah, co-signed. You know, that was just 8 years ago or whatever. And they had another album after that.
Yeah, they released that record on E1, and it kind of did halfway okay too.
Yeah, Bill Above the Vogue came out with something recently. Who else? Portrait of a Group.
That was fire.
Which one?
BBD.
Yeah.
Bill Above the Vogue now is fire. What was the name of that? What was the name of that first single off this last record? They didn't write it. I can't remember the name of it though. Do you remember?
No, I'd have to look that up.
Oh, it's driving me nuts.
But even Portrait of all groups, and they weren't even really that big. They had maybe one or two hits. They did a
Portrait
song.
came back?
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me look up the song right now. But they have a song. It's on I downloaded it a couple years ago. It's a really good song too. You'll like it.
I loved Portrait.
Honey Dip.
Yes. How Deep Is Your Love?
Yeah. Whenever I hear them, I always think about the episode of Family Matters where they were singing at the I think.
Yeah. I remember that.
And they didn't. One of them was related to Waldo, and he didn't want them to know that I'm related to this guy or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Yeah. But yeah, you should. I can't think of the name of that. I'll have to look up that song and send you the link. But yeah, it came out a couple years ago, man. Really, really good.
Yeah, Portrait was another one that had it.
Yeah.
And they were 5, so they were arranging in 5-part.
Yeah.
Which made it even better. I mean, if you heard, of course you've heard their take on How Deep Is Your Love.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there were only 3 Bee Gees, but there were 5 of them, so the harmonies were just so much deeper and richer. And that's another one that when I was in groups we used to do that one.
Oh,
and it's
really?
just fun to sing. It's fun to sing that top part because it's not where you expect it to be sometimes. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
fun to sing it. But it's such a great take. It's probably the best cover of that song I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And it didn't do incredibly well either.
Well,
And
that was the third single off that album, I think.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I can't, I'm like looking at the Three Stripes record by BBD right now, and I can't remember, even looking at it, I can't remember the tune. Run. I see it now. It was Run.
Wasn't that with SWV? Or
No, that was Finally.
okay. Yeah.
The Run was just them by themselves. It was the first single, and it's complete and total fire. It's so
Yeah.
good. I need that record in my life. Why I have not yet bought it, I don't know. Because I need it.